This is the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? Here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard the...
Well, you know what he says, but we try not to say it on this show just because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. And it's probably not a very nice thing to say, honestly. So we won't do that. Hashtag Real Race Talk. This is the Revved Up Sports Show. RevvedUpSportsShow.com, RevvedUpSportsShow.tv, RealRaceTalk.com, all of that good stuff. And, of course, at RevvedUpRadio.com. I'm Rodney. I'm going solo tonight. Bobby out of town doing the spring break thing. And so you're all in my hands tonight. So I hope you don't mind. So I'm going to guide you through. We got a lot to do. At 6:30, we're going to talk to Caden Honeycutt. Just a great weekend for my man Caden. And then coming up at 7 o'clock, we'll talk to the great Marcus Harcrow. So that's going to be a great conversation here. So that's good because we'll have those guys that can kind of offset the shortcomings that I may have tonight. But I want to talk about two things before we get to racing. Number one, why in the hell do we change the clock? That is stupid. I think this was a little bit different for me this time around because for once, well, I mean, it's happened before, but I think this time I was actually paying more attention to it. So I was at Cotton Bowl on Saturday night, and I got home, and very efficient show. I mean, we were done before 11. So I was back. I was back at the house in Round Rock. You know, a good time. You know, so I do what I always do when I come back from a race where there is a little bit of time like that. I mean, I'll throw me a frozen pizza in, and maybe drink a couple of beers, all of that good stuff. So that's what I did, and I actually stayed up long to where I actually went from 1 to 3 o'clock. So I went to take a shower at like 1:55, and I came out and it was 3:06 or something like that. So I think maybe that's what helped me because that lost hour hasn't quite hit me yet. And I keep waiting for it to happen, but it hasn't. So that's all well and good. So you know, I guess. But I still go back to I don't understand why we change the clock. And you guys that are checking in on the live Facebook feed, you can feel free to tell me why we do this because I seriously have no idea. And yes, I did. Josh is checking in there. It did look like a busy day at Houston this past weekend. I unfortunately wasn't able to get down there. I was double dipping once again, did Waco on Friday night and then Cotton Bowl there on Saturday. So lots of stuff there. And I saw some good posts about the tire change and I know it's tough. I mean, we've been through that in the past before where tires change like that. And there's a lot of different opinions on that. And I just, you just have to work with them. You just have to work with the racing operators, the track operators, all of that, and kind of sort through that. I mean, it's done for, you know, a reason. And I really do think, because knowing a lot of why the change was made, I think it's for the better. And I truly do applaud Gina for doing it because it's truly bucking the system. Sorry, I had to take a drink of that beer there. It's truly bucking the system because it's doing something different from everybody else. And you have to give that a shot. And I mean, there's lots of reasons for change. Change is hard. Change is very, very hard. And I totally understand that some folks aren't receptive to change, but I know it's really hard to try change. And then once you try it, then you go back and you know, then you kind of regroup from that point. I mean, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming this is going to work out because as what I'm seeing there on the feed, everything that I've seen has been positive. So I'm thinking that I'm sure there's negative feedback somewhere, and I'm sure we're going to hear it. But from what I've heard so far, I like what I'm hearing there. So hopefully that's something that's going to be for the good. So yeah, why we change the clock, I don't know. The other thing that I did want to talk about, because I was when I said Bobby was on spring break, and of course Bobby is gainfully employed, so this is, I'm not talking about him here when I'm bringing this up, but I was talking to another guy today, another dude, and he that guy ain't got a job. This dude doesn't have a job, and he said, I'm on spring break. I said, yeah, you've been on spring break for like 8 months, haven't you? And it's not a COVID-related issue or anything like that. But yeah, he's on spring break, and I'm like, dude, you have to work to be on spring break or be a student. So I don't know. That was the other thing that kind of caught my attention today that I thought was a little odd. But if you are enjoying spring break, that's good for you, and enjoy it. Enjoy it. That's good stuff. As I said, Caden Honeycutt coming up at 6:30, and then Marcus Harcrow at 7 o'clock. From around the region this weekend, really enjoyed being at Heart of Texas Speedway on Friday night. Just a great show there. The Boss Series, the Bandits Outlaw Sprint Series were in, and that was something. That was something right there. That little series right there. No restrictions there on motor size. They've gone and they've changed stuff up, so you had a little bit of everything. And I'll tell you what you had throughout the 25-lap races. You had 25 laps of badass racing, and those cars were super fast, and they were flying on that quarter mile. Shannon Tankersley wins the race. Had a little bit of contact with Chase Randall. Chase Randall in the car number 9 had actually, very young kid, very, very talented young man right there is Randall. He had actually got to the front of the pack. They had some contact right before a caution flag, and his tire went down, and Randall had to get out of the race, and it's Tankersley that wins it, and he said in victory lane he wanted to get in there and try to, race this thing out and try to settle it, but it just didn't work out that way. But anyway, I would have loved to see those guys race that out. But truly tremendous to watch that race. And of course, World of Outlaws are coming in this weekend to Cotton Bowl Speedway. As you got 2 nights of that, you got the Texas Two-Step that'll be heading in on Friday and Saturday night. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. John White wins in the modifieds and the sport mods. It's Michael Dabney. That was a very, very good race right there in the sport mods as well. Kenny Merritt in the 18, the V18 wins in the iStock. Shannon Dulock comes back and wins in the factory stock. Shannon had a little bit of problem the week before, and this is where with so many things that I'm enjoying about Waco. So Shannon Dulock, and I'll have to get a little more backstory on this. Apparently Shannon Dulock wears the black hat there at Heart of Texas Speedway, because in week number 1, he gets tied up there with Abby, and he goes off the track, and everybody's clapping, for the most part, not everybody, but many are clapping as they're escorting him off the track, or not escorting, but telling him to get off. They throw him the black flag, and he gets off the racetrack, and comes back this weekend. He wins the heat race in the factory stocks there, and you do hear some applause, but it's more of maybe not applauding. And then he comes and he wins the main event in dominating fashion, and you do hear a lot of maybe what folks would have done in the past, with Cale Yarborough or with Darrell Waltrip and all of that. So I'm figuring out pretty well there that Shannon Dulock kind of wearing the black hat there, and he wears it well too. He wears it well, but he did a really cool thing, because he had a check. You get the big check there. He came up and gave it to a kid. So that's good. Bitch at him all you want, but he did something really cool there. Wade White wins in the Outlaw Street Stocks at Heart of Texas Speedway. 37 running. My man Johnny Torres, and of course Joe Spillman off doing some flagging, doing some race directing, doing all of that. Jared Maupin wins in the modifieds, and that dude is on some kind of roll right there. That's a talent, man. That is a shoe right there in Jared Maupin, and he wins that race. Limited modifieds. Marcus Miklicek, and again, these names, these Valley names that we talk about. And I do have some sad coastal area news that I'm going to talk about right after this, as a matter of fact. Dylan Gaither wins in the factory stocks. Brandon McCall in the tuners. The trucks, the Texas Tornado, Tommy Grimes, the winner in that one. And congratulations to the trucks, by the way, because I'm going to put this in the nicest possible way that I can, but quite frankly, in the past couple of years, the truck count had been kind of shitty. It had been very thin, but something has happened there. I know there's been some changes with all of that, and we'll probably have to get those Texas Dirt Truck Series folks back on here to break all of that down. But there were 16 of those. There were 16 of those tailgaters at I-37. And I may be wrong. If I am, I'm sure somebody's going to correct me. But I think that's probably the highest truck count that they've ever had in the history of that series. Now, that's a new series, 3 years old or whatever it may be. But 16 is pretty damn good to start off with. And Tommy Grimes wins. And when you get guys like Grimes that are running in that series, that not only steps up, you have to step up the competition to be able to do well, but it gives a lot of validity to that series as well. When you get those veterans jumping in there like that, like Grimes. I mean, Grimes is doing some good stuff in the limited late models, and he jumps over to that, so that's super impressive. Brandon Spreen wins in the Dwarf Kart Racing Series at Texas as they had their first appearance. I think that was race number 1 for them, and I know coming up on the 27th, they will actually be back at Texana Raceway Park. That's the next race date for Owen over at Texana. The news I was talking about with the Corpus Christi, the coastal stuff, I think many of you probably saw. It's funny, these days with social media and so forth, in the days of the past when we were all growing up, a racetrack could get buried in hell. You'd never know till you went looking for it that it was gone. But it looks like, unfortunately, Corpus Christi Speedway is going to be on our little Lost Speedways short list here in Texas. As it looks like that one goes by the wayside. Probably the worst kept secret that we've had around here for a long time, because we did know that property had been sold, and pretty sure that it was not going to be a racetrack, and it absolutely will not be. It's actually going to be a towing company. So that's what's happening there, and we're starting to see pictures, and we're starting to see videos of all of this, where it's one thing, because I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and again, you guys can jump in there. Dad Chaffee, Bobby's in New Orleans. He's in New Orleans, so he's not here. So it's me today. I'm manning the ship. So when you see these tracks that are torn down gradually, kind of the thing I will say with CTS, it was one of those things for me with CTS. When CTS was going to be gone, that one happened a little quicker. I mean, it's compared to some of these other ones. I know with Austin, obviously Speedorama sat there for a long time, and finally it went, but it went quick. Corpus had kind of been sitting there, and Austin and Corpus, both of those were just kind of falling apart and decaying, and over weeds everywhere, and then the grandstands would be gone, and then part of this would be gone, and that's the sucky part to me is when they die that slow death. And I've been out to Texas World Speedway, and that one's even more. That one is even more of a sad situation, because that massive structure right there, if you go out there right now, I mean, what you've got from the exit of turn 4 down the straightaway, turn 1 and 2 are gone. You have half of the back straightaway where the sign says Texas World Speedway on the backstretch, right about where that cut is, the kink right there that would take you out to the road course. You have the backstretch from there all the way into turn 3 through the exit of turn 4, and then there's a big gouge right there. So that one's even worse. Because you still have the grandstand hill, and again, that's I don't wish any racetrack to be gone, but when a racetrack has to be gone, I wish it would just go. I mean, it's like with San Antonio. I mean, I see the pictures of San Antonio, and I've been there. It's been a couple of years since I've been there, but hell, it hadn't changed much from what I saw last. Just in the pictures that I've seen, the grass has grown, and I guess somebody went and rode on the damn guardrail or front stretch or fence or whatever. But even with that one, I mean, it really sucks to just kind of sit there and watch it do that. And I think that folks are holding out hope that at some point that something's going to happen there. I mean, but you got to be a realist. I mean, it's going to take a lot. So it's kind of with Corpus to watch the way that's happening. I think this is one of those things where when there's a death and you're waiting for a death, and it just kind of slowly starts to happen, then boom, that's really what we've watched here in the last week or so with CC Speedway. And I mean, seriously, that sucks. I mean, because I said it on Facebook the other day. I mean, I truly wish that CC Speedway I'd love to have them all back, but I mean, especially the more that I see, the more that I'm digging into Florida. I mean, the more that I'm digging and dabbling my feet and toes into Florida and seeing how everything works right there, I truly think that CC Speedway with it being what it is, with it being a quarter-mile high banked and all of that history. I mean, and I go back to 1949 and just everything there. Had that one been able to sustain and get put back together, get the pieces in place to make it what it was capable, I think that one could have modified itself with the right folks in place to sustain still, and especially being in that beach coastal town, because there's so much there that I think it draws. I think it would have a draw. I mean, I truly think it would have the draw. I mean, you watch tracks all around the country on the asphalt side, and it's kind of that resume right there. I mean, you get these little bull rings that would really I have thought for the longest time. Because Kyle was in a rough spot because Kyle was too far from Austin, maybe closer to San Marcos, and I mean, it just wasn't. I don't know. I think that one did a lot better than many of the others in its later days, but I just really didn't think that it was always, to me, CTS, THR, whatever you want to call it, was always going to be what it was. Short track, maybe draw in something. Although I will say, yesterday, watching that Rattler 250 over at South Alabama, I was having, flashbacks back to the damn Texas Big Shot 250 and thinking, had that one been able to live, we'd be what? That was 2001, 2, 3, whatever that was. We'd be almost into 20 years of the Texas Big Shot 250, and that would fall right there in line with all of those major late model races. But, I can if this, if ands and buts out the ass, but we're not doing it anymore. It's the bottom line. San Antonio, yeah, but I think Corpus really would have been the one. Of the ones that are gone, I truly think that Corpus would have been the one. But all I can say is, I'm sad with everybody else, and I wish we had all of them. But here's the deal, guys. We got one. We've got Houston. It's a damn good one. If we have to have one, if we can only have one, I've said this forever. If we can only have one, shit, that's the one to have, because it's in a great market. It's in a great spot, and I saw some stuff the other day where I was talking about it on the Saturday show, where you've got folks in Nashville that are starting to, or Nashville, as Jeff Hammond said on our show, in Nashville, that are you've got neighbors that are already bitching about this thing is going to make too much noise. Where the neighbors have gone and found the racetrack. Yeah, is that a theme we've heard around here before? Back in the glory days of the fairgrounds, there wasn't anybody over there around there, and now it's a metropolitan area, and they're already bitching about it. And we've seen it everywhere. And fortunately, I will say with Houston, because in the last couple of years that Gina's gotten Houston fired up. The first time I went back out there, I'm like, man, where'd all these houses come from? So again, that's why you run efficient. That's why you run lean and you get it done. You get your shit done early, and it's and it happens. So that's just something to think about there with Nashville. So CBS, it was Derek Scott Jr. that won in the modifieds. Joseph Ponton Jr. in the Sport Mods, a really, really good race. In the iStocks, AJ Dancer. Now, AJ Dancer, that dude right there. So and I asked him this in Victory Lane, because I've talked about him many times. AJ Dancer, man, he goes out there in these iStocks, and he's out there running, 20, 25-year-old cars, and jumps out there. The dude's out there running a Leaf Spring Nova, and he would beat these guys, but it got to where, these metric cars were getting to be a little bit too much for him and the Nova and so forth, and some of those other cars, those homemade cars that he run. But man, he's got him something more. He's got him a modern car now. And he told me in Victory Lane it was about 10 years old. So to him, like to many of us, that's new. To many of us, that's new. So he put a whooping on them in that car. And watch AJ Dancer. Watch him in those iStocks, because he got out there, and man, you give this dude. You give a dude that's used to doing a lot with not a lot, and you give him some fresh minnows on that hook, and that dude is going to be really damn good. And I saw it from AJ, and good for him, man. I'm super happy for that. If you have not seen the factory stock race from Cotton Bowl Speedway, you need to go. If somebody's bootlegging this thing on Facebook, I know people are doing that. all the time. Another topic. But if you're on that speed pass with Race on Texas, you need to jump on there if you haven't seen it and go watch that factory stock race, because that right there, 26 cars started that race. These guys got out there. They were elbow to elbow running around out there. And this was one of, and I've seen a bunch. I've seen a bunch in the last 3 years. This factory stock race on Saturday night at CBS, and CBS proved to me on Saturday night that it can produce this type of racing where you've got that wide track, you've got that high bank. Seriously, 3, 4 wide. I mean, the speeds were amazing, incredible to see what and Tony's checking in. He's gonna make a highlight video tonight, and seriously, you've got to watch this. I mean, this is one where I got done. I got done calling that race, and I'm like, holy smoke! I can't believe what I just saw. And that's go back and listen to it, because I'm sure my call is very, very much a fan. And yes, great call. Triton Temple goes and invades, and he's. What a run. I mean, Triton Temple, he won the week before at Edna. He comes out, and he's at the front, and I mean, he is going to win this race. Don Painter was really good. That damn Don Painter, man. It's like a fine wine is Don Painter, man. He just he just when you think that Don Painter, it's like, Don Painter's got to start slipping at some point, man. He just sat there. He follows his kid. He was not better than the kid. I can tell you this. Donald told me this himself. He was not better than the kid, but he sat there, and I think Donald was waiting for him to make a mistake. And Triton, in his very young age, he doesn't slip up very often, but a car spins out. And I'm not going to ruin it for you. Go and watch it. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it. But tremendous race. Tremendous race. CJ Gray wins in your street stocks. Good win for him. That dude has been good. He's got him a sled underneath him that this won't be the only time that he's there. And Dylan Kowalik wins in the Sport Compacts, and a good turnout in Sport Compacts as well. So that was really, really good to see there as well. Got to talk about the Rattler 250. We did have Ty Majeski was set to be on this show at 7:30. So this was going to be an extended program. Was able to lock in Ty with good help from my friend John Alverson last night, but Ty had stuff. He had a 51 thing about an hour ago, so we had him locked in. There was other things that he had in line before us, but got a call, and he's got stuff that he has to work on, and I posted it there on the Facebook page, on the show page. When you start winning all these races, I mean, this dude he goes to a new point yesterday, winning that damn Rattler 250. And I mean, he the fourth Rattler that he's won, and he wins it over Nasi, Daniel Dye, Kyle Plott, and Derek Griffith. That race there, and he wins it, and like I said, record fourth one. But that was a dominating win. He led all but 15 laps in that race, and to see what he was able to pull off, and to see. I think the most fascinating aspect of that race yesterday, seriously, was Stephen Nasi. I mean, I know this guy's got a lot of guys, got a lot of fans, has a lot of fans that like him, he's got a lot of folks that don't like him. But to see what he did, he had a belt, he had a fuel pump belt with, I think, lap 56 that goes awry and it goes to the back of the pack. I thought he was out of the race because I thought he was actually going to get out of the car at one point. Jumps back in, and he chases this thing all the way back up to second. And I read somewhere where Nasi, or I don't know. I think that Ty thought that maybe Nasi was going to get him, but this was Ty's show. This was Ty's show, and he dominated. And he's coming off of the win at the Snowball last year. He finally gets that Snowball win. But if you look at this resume that Ty Majeski is putting together right now, and we talk about all of the great drivers and super late models, and sure as hell, I mean, Stephen Nassi's one of them. And you've got all of them. You got Bubba Pollard, and we're watching Bubba Pollard, but Bubba Pollard Bubba Pollard's in a slump right now. I mean, you see it in baseball where you get a hitter that's in a hitter slump, and he just can't come out of it. And Bubba's just not able to dig himself out of it right now. And hopefully, he's gone back, and you can kind of trigger this back. I mean, he had the good run at New Smyrna. He won there in the 26 car, then he goes into the 71 car. at the Snowball, and that's really where you can kind of start tracing this back. And I mean, he went back to the roots there, and he's back in the cars that he was in before, but it's still not there. It is still not there, and he's losing some ground because this 91. I mean, Tom Majeski's going to continue to run these super late model races. He's a man. He is a man, and he kept that going this weekend. Nassie did win the Baby Rattler. Man, I don't want any kind of snake near me, not even a Baby Rattler. Somebody messaged me on the after the show on Saturday and said, well, how about if it was a smaller snake? Is the Baby Rattler a smaller snake? I'm like, man, I don't care what it is. You can hand me a chicken snake in my hand, and I don't want the damn thing. I don't want any part of that. I'm a chicken shit. I don't want any of it. My attaboy goes to, and guys, this is where you can take notes. I may have to finish this if Caden calls. But my man Casey Roderick, and that's one of our show favorites right there. So that dude, you want to talk about you guys that you've got good ladies. You need to do the stuff that Casey Roderick did. Casey Roderick obviously set there to race in the Rattler 250. He had to start in the back. Missed qualifying. Emily Hodge, we know her, friend of the show as well. I mean, she was Miss Revved Up Sports Show. Hell, I guess she still is. We haven't crowned anybody else to take that post. So she was in the Miss Mississippi competition on Saturday night. You may, if you follow her, if she's a Facebook friend of yours, you may have chronicled her through this. And I think Saturday night was when they were doing the evening gown and all this other stuff, like the really critical point of this. Casey skips out on the Saturday at the Rattler 250 to go support Emily Hodge. That's what you do right there. That's what you do right there. And I'm sure that, Casey would say,
Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa.
I'm sure, he would say that because Emily's very attractive. I mean, if you're going to run for a Miss anything, I mean, you have to be very attractive, well-versed and all of that. But talk about taking one for the team right there. That's exactly what you do. So, guys, I know that Valentine's is past. So, just for and I probably need to give myself this advice as well. Is if your significant other, your partner, whatever has a birthday coming up, or you've got a wedding anniversary or a relationship anniversary, do something like that. Be like Casey Roderick. Do those kind of things. I mean, I skipped. Actually, I kind of lucked out because my wife's birthday is February 26th, and I was not doing any racing gigs. I did do a racing gig, or was supposed to do a racing gig on the 27th. However, I lucked out. I kind of lucked out double because that was when the snow apocalypse hit, was that weekend when the Friday the 26th into Saturday the 27th. So I know many of you may have as well, but I kind of lucked out on that one because it was I was home anyway. I couldn't go anywhere. Although I think she wanted me to leave. I think she's like, do you have a racing gig here? You're getting kind of grumpy. But really, really good stuff right there. So applaud. Casey Roderick. That's what you do right there. And I promise you, I'm being very sincere in this, that I really think that that's cool. I really think that that's cool that he did that, because you see these couples, and I mean, you see it all the time at racetracks, all across, all the racetracks that I go to, and in my time in racing, I've seen to where the backbone of what we racers, whatever series we're in, whatever anything that we're in, it's those ladies, it's those folks at home, it's the kids that lose time, with parents and so forth, because they have to, because we're doing what we do. And I just really thought that was something really cool for him to take that time to go support her. So really good. Really good. I like that. But seriously, going back to Bubba Pollard, that's really interesting to me to wonder if we're going to see him get that turned around, because I'm sure he will. I mean, he's really good. I mean, he's really good. I mean, he's probably the best. When you get these guys that he's short track racing. When you think about what we do, and you think about the guys that really signify and personify short track racing, he's a guy. I mean, he really is. So hopefully, it's rough to see him going through slumps like this, because it's you just don't see it. You just don't see it. It kind of feels like that Jimmy Johnson point where he just couldn't get it. Couldn't get it where he wanted it, and hopefully he gets that turned around. Bristol Dirt Track Nationals, they start right now. And we've got a lot of Texas guys that are down there. And I did see that Cody Leonard is already, unfortunately, I think Cody Leonard may already be heading back. I mean, I think he's uncorked a couple of motors there, and that's where this gets so hard with these big shows. You know, I get super excited to see our guys and ladies get the opportunity to go run these places, but man, it gets whether it be, you know, we've seen that these races become where you're tearing up so much stuff. I mean, you're just wrecking so many things, whether it be something like that or you're popping motors like it seems like what's happening down there. It gets hard, man. It gets really hard. I hope for the folks that are going to be affected by either one of those aspects of that, whether it be, you know, part failure or you get your shit tore up, you know, that it's not going to be a season killer for a lot of these guys, because to have the opportunity to go run at a facility like that's really amazing, and it just shows how far this sport has come. And when we talk about, you know, short track racing being the backbone of racing, I mean, there's a great instance right there where you see it, where you do have these guys and girls that are getting to go do that, and that's going to be a great presentation to get to see what we're seeing. I saw a dirt late model from the infield. I saw someone posted a dirt late model video of one in the infield, and it's incredible to see the speeds that we're seeing there, and that's going to go throughout the week. So you've got it throughout the week, and it's going to set the precedent for the NASCAR weekend that's coming up the following week. And I really think, again, that's just great scheduling. That's great ideas there by those folks to schedule those things back to back. So, you know, again, so NASCAR's not going into this thing blind. The track will be tested. And it's been getting tested because there's been lots of activity on the track, and we'll continue to progress. So follow on this show page here, because we'll have updates up there. We'll get you, you know, throughout the weekend as to not just, you know, how our guys are doing, but we'll get you updates as to who's winning, who's doing all of that, and so forth. So we will have all of that. But really a great weekend here in Texas, and we're ramping it up because you had Heart of Texas, you had 37, and you had Cotton Bowl coming up this week. You do have the doubleheader with the World of Outlaws that are going to be making their way in, and I've been looking at forecasts throughout the week leading forward up until Friday and Saturday there at Cotton Bowl. And man, I think we're really going to be good. I think we're really going to be good there this time around. I don't see any traces of anything, and I really hope that they're able to get this race in, because I know Marianne and H have worked really hard, and I do want to give them. I did it in the crowd the other night. They did a really good job to get that place back in order, because that place was hammered. That place was hammered throughout the flood, and they had a lot to do. They had a hell of a lot to do, and you got out there, and the place looked really superb. It looked looked really good. You had a good fan count out there. You had a good car count, and that's one thing that I'm really seeing. What about the only thing that I am wondering is, I know that some of the modifieds are wherever they are at the moment, but I'd really like to see. I'd really like to see more modifieds start to make these local shows, and I know that'll come around. I know that it's really early, but I know that at some point we're going to have that, because you can't beat those modifieds. Marianne had 12. There were 12 of them at Cotton Bowl, and that was one of the highest counts that I've seen. I know at Waco it's been a little bit down. I don't exactly remember the count at 37 and such, but really want to see those beefed up. But what there are not a lack of is factory stocks. There are plenty of those. Plenty of iStocks, and that's, like I said, it's early in the season, and I know that that's going to continue to grow. Quickly over to the NASCAR stuff. Truex did win yesterday, so we finally had a regular type winner. That when I say regular, you know, the guys that we see winning all the time. We finally did see one of those, that we're used to seeing in victory lane. So finally that streak has broken a little bit, and a good win there for Truex. We're starting to see Truex, and especially happy there for our man Blake Blake Harris, another friend of the show there, as he's the car chief there on that number 19 car. So you always like it when you see those kind of wins. So congratulations to the 19 and Truex. Probably should have been the racer for Logano. He led a whole bunch of laps in that race. I think he led something like 140 laps. So thought that it was going to be Logano going to victory lane there for that one. He does not. But it is Truex. Do have the top 5 here somewhere. Truex, Logano, Hamlin, Keselowski, Elliott, Harvick was your 6th place car. They're going to be heading over to Atlanta Motor Speedway coming up for this week. So on the Xfinity side, it's Austin Cindric that wins in that one, and really ready to get back to truck racing. Get back to truck racing and get those guys fired back up, get that series back out, because that's, like we've said so many times on the show, that's usually your best NASCAR race of the weekend is going to be the trucks. So we're ready for that. We are ready for that. Still seeing some questions there on the tire situation. Yeah, the tire for Houston is definitely the American racer. I think it's pretty clear on that one there that decision has been made, and I've actually talked to folks that apparently, and I do understand. So again, I know that when we had the conversation with Gina here a couple of weeks ago, she was talking about, the tread, the reliability, the longevity, and so forth, and all of that. And I know, and I do know, because I've talked to some other people, the concern is the wheels, and obviously the wheels. I mean, that's expensive as well. I did see, I saw that Bruce Wright, he's actually on here, and he can maybe elaborate on there, that the times got faster. The times got faster. And I've talked to folks around the country that said, expect that what's going to happen there is that your times will get faster the more that you get the tire worked in. And a lot of that, what Bruce was talking about, I saw that something that Bruce was talking about, and this makes total sense, is, I mean, you're going to have to, you will have to change your setup. I mean, setup is going to change. I mean, it's different compound, it's different tire. I mean, sidewall, all of that is different. I mean, all of that is different. So, to think that you're just going to, and everybody knows better than this. I mean, everybody knows better than this. I'm preaching to the choir here, and I'm telling everybody things that they already know. I mean, to just think that you're going to dismount a Hoosier and pop on an American racer, and you're not going to have any fall off, and you're going to have the same results. It goes without saying you're going to have to make changes. But I did see folks saying that they got faster, So I know it's hard. I mean, I truly know it's hard. And I've had those conversations with folks. I mean, I remember when we would, in the Kyle days, we would go from Hoosier to Goodyear to Hoosier, whatever it was, and there was a little bit of time there in place where you could actually run the tire that was used prior for a certain amount of dates, a certain amount of races, or whatever it was. I don't exactly know the specifics of what may be the case here, and I will find that out for you. But I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I know it costs money, but where I do go back, and this is where the wheels are, where I'm not talking about this part of the equation that I'm talking about. This when we would have tire changes in the past, we didn't have as many teams or whatever buying tires every race. But again, this was back then. We would race once or twice a month, or twice to 4 times a month. I mean, whether it be weekly or whether it be every other week, whatever it was. So the times have changed in that aspect, I know. However, I see at the track a lot where teams buy tires every race, and I don't. And again, that's where that slippery slope is, because the wheels are the what differentiates this whole conversation. Because I do know that the wheels are the odd thing, So I don't know. It's that conversation's gonna go on, but definitely, American Racer is going to be your tire at Houston and at Mobile. And I know there've been some deep discussions on the Mobile side. And yes, I'm waiting for Caden Honeycutt. There've been some deep discussions on the Mobile side as to how that affects, and this is where we're getting social media intertwined into this, and let's see how we're going to take this for a little spin right here, because this is the initial response from Mobile was, oh my, no, bad idea. Again, the track's been closed. Track's been closed, but I got calls. I mean, I talked to people from Mobile, and you guys feel free to tell me different. I talked to people from Mobile that was like, well, but I'm going to go run 5 flags, and one of the questions that I got was about the super late models, and don't even the Southern Super Series is going to run Hoosiers. That's what they run. That agreement's been in place forever. So let's not go down the road of arguing about what the Southern Super Series needs to run. The Southern Super Series needs to run Hoosiers because that's what they run. Bottom line, that's not changing. But when it came to the other, because I talked to a lot of folks that talked about running the Friday with 5 flags and the Saturday with Mobile, and the more that I dug into that, or that it was actually dug into, it dug itself out. It dug itself out, as it always does. Is that you didn't have a lot in that camp? That you didn't have a lot in that camp that are actually doing that. So I don't know. Sorry, gulp of the beer. But it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation, but what I can tell you is that I truly do believe that there are a lot of folks that want the Mobile track opened up, and painfully, it pains me to say it, is the decision's been made. If you're going to run there, this is what you've got to do. And for Houston, I know it's harder there as well, because there were already tires in place, and I see that folks have bought tires in anticipation as to what was going to happen there, and I truly I understand that, because that is what had happened. But at the same time, I've looked and I've seen where folks are selling brand new Hoosiers. So I think that's the thing to think about. And I'm not promising you guys, I'm not making bones about this at all. But what if you've got brand new Hoosiers, sell them, because there are lots of tracks that are going to that. There's a lot of tracks that run Hoosiers. So get rid of them. If you've got pull-offs, sell them. Because it, I think Gina talked about it last week in some of the classes there at Mobile. There's a little bit of a buffer there as to how all of that's going to work, and you can go back at RevvedUpSportsShow.com. That's there where you can go back and get all of that figured out. But this is what's going to happen. It's not going to change, fortunately or unfortunately, depending how you're looking at that. But that's the bottom line there at Mobile. So anyway, Cars Tour, and I did want to talk to Caden here with Cars Tour, and I hope Caden is not in a time zone thing, as we always run into on the show, which is another reason that I need to just start saying we start at 7 Eastern. Just to, or however that works out, just to make sure that all of that is right. But we do have Marcus Harcrow definitely coming on at 7. I do know that for sure. But the Cars Tour is heading over to Hickory, so you'll have that one taking shape. And I was talking to somebody else again, brought up with the Cars Tour as to where now it being the modern day ASA and the All Pro, and that's something. I know I beat it into the ground. I talk about it all the time, because that's the stuff that I grew up watching, and one of the things that I thought about when I start seeing all these pictures of CC Speedway is I think back. Do you guys remember when you had the All Pro doubleheader? Whether it be, I think there was a time where All Pro may have run twice in Corpus. But then you had Corpus on Friday, and then you would go to San Antonio on Saturday. So you would have those back-to-back where All Pro would do that. And that's, man, those were the days. And that's why I truly think that when you go back and look, that now it would be so hard where we had Speedorama, Longhorn, whatever you want to say, and Corpus on Friday night, and then you'd make a gear change, because those two tracks, you had quarter-mile tracks right there. The banking, obviously, one a high bank and one 6 degree. So you had those two, and then you would make a gear change. You headed to San Antonio on Saturday or Pan American. Week after week, no weekends off. They did it all the time, and it was crazy to think no class was ever off, and to think about that. But anyway, I digress. But that was one of the things that I was really thinking about, because one of the things that I would love to see, especially now that we know, we've known, but now that we know that CC Speedway is gone, We're not. It's not coming back. It's going to be a wreck tow salvage yard. To see some of those all pro. Anybody have those all pro videos from Corpus? Now those would be something, if you could get your hands on, that would be really cool to watch. And that think about this, because I can really relate it to the Corpus races, the San Antonio races also, but really to the Corpus races, because those are the ones where you would have, they'd come into town and you had Rapper, you had Slick, you had all of these guys. These guys would run with all pro. Freddie would come, obviously, because Freddie was a part of all pro. All pro series champion in '83 and so forth. So Freddie obviously would come, but Greg Davidson, and before I go any further, if I could move that camera, because here on the wall of the Revved Up studio is a banner that Heather sent me, Greg's daughter. Gave me, and it's Greg. It's Greg Davidson up on here, one of his outlaw posters. To have that there, to see him back in that car this past weekend. I know it may have ended not the way he wanted it to, but how cool was that? Yeah, but those old Corpus videos, I'd love to get my hands on those, because our guys would get out there and run all pro. And they were all over it, so that'd be some really good stuff. Headed to the hotline. Going to talk to the man. Was just talking about the Cars Tour, but this dude is coming off a weekend at one of those great tracks that we like to talk about, and he sweeps. When you sweep anything, you're doing something right, and this dude's been doing a lot right. It's Caden Honeycutt. Caden, how you doing, man?
How you doing, sir? Sorry about that.
No.
Bad signal, sir.
No, totally good. I know it gets hard. I know it gets hard with some of these things. But talk about the weekend, man. When you go out, and it's one thing you go out and you win one race a weekend, but hell, when you sweep, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Our car was just flaming fast. Then our first race, we just took it as easy as possible as we could, and still try to manage to win the race, and we were able to do that. As soon as we were able to get up front, I took it about 50% or so, just riding, waiting for the second race to come around. And we really utilize the second race as much as possible. Being in the back on older tires, I have the heat cycle on them. I know during the Hickory race for this weekend's Cars Tour, will kind of be somewhere the same. You may have cautions here and there, so it might cycle the tires down. But we really were able to capitalize getting through traffic there, and it made it 10 times better with the adjustments that we made. And I really think we're going to have a really solid piece for Cars Tour weekend. Yeah,
absolutely. So let's talk about your deal there with Justin Johnson Racing. And obviously we've seen the great things that you've done there in the Super with Donnie Wilson. But how'd that all come together, and you fall into that? And I think that's just another step in your progression.
Yeah, we just looked at all the options that we had, and we saw this Cars Tour. We were led by Rod Worthing and Race Face Brand Development to follow the Cars Tour. Mm-hmm. Certainly a stout field, without a doubt. I think it's one of the hardest competitions to compete against, compared to Supers. It is like late model stocks. For Supers, we're still going to compete with Donnie here at the end of the year. In select races, but we figured we utilize the money and just use our funding towards running for a championship and something. And we saw Cars Tour as a big deal to do that. And we saw Justin's success in his Cars Tour with Jason Stanley, and that's the man I have as a crew chief. And man, he's one smart dude, I can tell you. They just got really good equipment, really, really good people, and we just saw that as an opportunity to go after a championship and make a name for ourselves.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's a Texas ties team right there with you guys. That's awesome stuff right there. So your thoughts with that Cars Tour? I was just talking about it earlier, man. They don't mess around. Southern Super Series is great. Plenty of good ones, but those guys, when you want to talk about a buttoned-up package, man, that from the presentation, the build-up, everything, they just hit a home run with that each and every time.
Absolutely, man. They don't come around to the play. There's about 20 cars in that field that people can throw in the hat. They can win the race. Just that bunch of drivers is that good, and that equipment is just that equaled out. but I think that the car store is definitely one of the best building blocks, especially for
Mhm.
maybe not as much as racetracks as NASCAR, but the aspect of racing is really much more different. And I think the way the car handles is much more like an ARCA car or truck, anything like that with truck arms. It's the same similar rear end style. Otherwise, a super late model is mostly worked in the rear end than it is the front end on a late model stock. So there's a lot of differences that you can take from it. But I really think that a late model stock can be a better development of understanding the car and understanding how a NASCAR car can handle in the future when you start to move up.
Yeah, yeah, and Caden, I think that's one of the things. Just what you're saying right there, because you're one of I was talking to a friend today. You're a rare breed. You know the cars. You like working on these cars. I mean, I think that's so important, isn't it? I mean, get in there, learn your car, and know what the hell it'll do or won't do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for example, like this Hickory this past race, I was just asking, questions on, hey, this is what do we do that time, so I can remember that stuff. Being in school and being in the shop so far away and just not be able to work on the cars as much as I used to, like I do on my dirt stuff, is why I'm flying up there this weekend during
Mhm.
spring break so I can actually learn a little bit about shocks and what adjustments do what. Um, and that's what I've been asking. Every race is, what did this change do, or what did we do just then? And so I can learn and feedback there in the future when I have knowledge of what's actually going on and what change did what, and remember as the next races go on, say, hey, we made this change at this racetrack, maybe let's try it this time. It's just stuff like that
Yeah.
that can really help you going in the next races that you have.
And I would really think with the late model stock, I mean, because it really is, it's kind of cool when you get in a car. It's one of the things that I liked about dwarf cars a few years ago is you jump in something like that, and it really does come down a lot of times to the guy in the seat. I mean, if money's always a factor, but when you have equal cars and it comes down to the driver, that really makes it cool when you're out
Yes.
on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've driven somewhat of a dwarf style car, and those are not very good handling cars. And
No.
most of the time, it comes down to the people that
Yeah.
don't fly out of the seat and they're actually up there on the wheel each and every lap. So
Mhm.
it's definitely you're definitely right about that. It's very hard to wheel one of those cars, and I think just having that knowledge and just uh, educating yourself really does make a big difference. Even when it's not nothing to your driving capability, I think it can affect you as a long term.
Yeah, no doubt. So, what's the status dirt wise for you? I mean, I know Cars Tour looks like it's going to take the bulk of the precedence there. So, what all's in store this year for you over on the dirt side?
So we have established that we're only going to miss 3 to 4 races in the DFW late model crate late model series here in North Texas.
Mhm.
We're going to run the entire schedule. We have, I think Mark has over 20 something races on that schedule, so we'll be able to run a good majority of the season on that dirt side. Luckily, it falls on the weekend that we're not racing a Cars Tour race,
Perfect.
so that was nice. Um, our first dirt race will be after this weekend at Hickory. We'll finally be back in a dirt car. So dirt late model, we are pretty booked, and the car store we're booked, and we do have a few select races for the sport mod. Mostly big shows only. I know one of the ones that stands out is the Mike Parker Memorial out
Yeah.
in Texarkana, I
Mhm.
believe,
Mhm.
Arquitect,
Yep.
and we'll definitely do that one for sure again. Maybe even run a factory stock again. If anybody has a factory stock that's good, let me know. I'll race both of them in one night. Um, but yeah, we do have a few select races for mod, but we're pretty booked on dirt side as well. So there's nothing much affects dirt.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So it's funny you mentioned factory stock. So, man, what is it about? Is that kind of the equivalent of a late model stock car on asphalt, where everything is? I mean, like I say on here all the time, I read the rules and then I watch them. I'm like, I don't know how the hell they go that fast. But to watch those cars, man, is that the equivalent? Man, those cars are. I love that class.
Yeah, me not driven a factory stock, but knowing a person that's really close to me that runs a factory stock. I actually help him out with late model tires, and he says that actually makes a difference too.
Yeah.
With the grip level. The shocks are the same as a sport mod. The springs are. The stationary rear end's the same. So straight rail rear end is the same thing as a sport mod. So we kind of have similarities. Just as much to the tire, and the tire basically just slides all the way across the racetrack, and you have to find side bite most of the factory stocks now. That's mostly all they're fighting is the chassis. Quality of chassis is definitely definitely there as well. There's quite a few chassis manufacturers that are good in a factory stock, but there's quite a few that don't stand out as much. So you see a lot of people, and a chassis dominant, there's a lot of people that have the same logo on the side of the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See that every week. It's like, oh, okay, no, I see why that car's so fast, or maybe why that one's not. But
right.
How much does that? I've never driven a full-bodied car on dirt. How much does that dirt? The more that I watch dirt track racing, I'm newer to it. The more that I watch that, man, that's got to help your asphalt racing, doesn't it? I mean, you hang it out there on the dirt track, and you get in the asphalt car. Maybe it feels like, man, I'm not sliding, I'm not moving. Extremely different. That's got to help your asphalt program.
Yeah, it does. I definitely learned a lot of car control and adjustability wise as looseness. Every time me and Dad are there and says, whatever you do not have a tight dang race car. I'll scream over and over again if you don't loosen it up or this happened. It's loose car for me is not is great. It's the greatest thing for me. Tighten this car, not so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely that person that doesn't like a tight race car, that likes a loose handling car for me to be able to make it work and find grip.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So quickly before I cut you loose, man. So with the super stuff, working there with Donnie, any races in particular that and if you can't tell us, that's totally cool. But what's on that super late model plate moving forward?
We want to do the snowball again. As another along with that is the All American 400. We're going to try to do Jennerstown. If it's not possible, it's involved with Triple Crown for the late model stock. So that's probably not going to happen. But we're going to race 2 Five Flags races and possibly one more select race at the end of the year. So we're going to aim for one Blizzard race for Five Flags, the Snowball, All American, and one other track that we're going to try to pick out as well. We're going to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything in particular moving forward on the Cars Tour that you're really looking forward to? Going to a track that you've never been before. I mean, I know the throwback 276 and all that's really cool, but anyone in particular there that you're ready to do it like today?
Particularly, I'd say Dominion, because so many people have talked about Dominion. Another track is, I believe, Ace. And Ace and Martinsville.
Yeah.
Those 3 tracks is the ones I look forward to. I like all the tracks. I've been to Greenville Pickens. Greenville Pickens is a cool place. Tested an ARCA car there for the very first time and definitely used a lot of brakes, and it was a cool little place. Have a lot of history as well. There's a lot of tracks that we're going through that have history, so there's tons I can choose. I can choose the whole schedule. Man, I'd say Ace Martinsville is one of the top 2 tracks I'm looking forward to going to.
Yeah, super cool. And the most important question is Shane behaving himself?
Yes,
okay,
he is.
Good.
He is behaving himself. How about that? That's unusual, but man, he does amazing work with us, being part of our family for a whole year. I'm really thankful for him for what he's done. Not many people know. I mean, he posts a lot on Facebook, but man, he does a lot more than what Facebook says.
Yeah. He is a social media maven. That is for sure.
Yeah. He is. He's a good maven.
He is. He's damn good at it. So for Hickory, what's your schedule? When do you guys pull in? When do you get on the track, qualifying and so forth this weekend with the Cars Tour?
So we're probably going to have an open session on Thursday from daylight to sunset, and then Friday we'll have probably 3 or 4 practice sessions, Cars Tour. 2 1-hour sessions and then 2 30-minute sessions in the day on Friday. It might even only be 3 practice sessions. I haven't seen a schedule yet, but Saturday we'll have 1 30-minute session. and then we'll qualify and race at night.
Yeah, awesome. CarsTour.tv is the place to check out our man Caden Honeycutt as he will head to historic Hickory. Man, congratulations on the weekend. Congratulations on the new ride and just everything to come, buddy. I think 2021 is going to be pretty damn superb for you, my man.
Man, I hope so, and we're going to make the most of it, and hopefully we can move forward after this year and bring home a championship and tons of wins. That's what we're aiming for 2021.
Right on. Looking forward to it, man. Keep in touch. You got an open mic here anytime, my friend.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate you coming on.
You betcha. Take care.
You too.
You bet. There he is, Caden Honeycutt. And that, seriously, the Justin Johnson ride there for him is going to be, obviously, you know, the ride there with Donnie. And I mean, we saw he turned so many heads that I had folks that, I mean, a lot of people knew who Caden Honeycutt was. But after that snowball effort, and again, Donnie Wilson, and this is one of those scenarios where we talk, when we talk to young guys like this, and where Caden Honeycutt's different, is what I asked him there, is he will. I mean, the dude will get greasy, grease under his fingernails. I mean, the guy will work on his stuff, and nowadays that's something that not a lot do, and I just think that I did. It was folks that would call me, and it's like asking about Caden Honeycutt. I mean, turned so many heads there at the Snowball Derby, and I'm just glad. I'm just glad the opportunities are there for him, because his dad. I mean, Kirby. That's just great, folks. Mark, Shane. I mean, it's really cool to see that happening and to see the excitement they had at Snowball with what Caden was doing. That's what it's all about. And with those right opportunities, which it just takes a few right opportunities. I think that this dude is one. He's young, and we're going to see him. We're going to see him do some really good things. Heading back to the hotline, we're talking there with Caden Honeycutt, and thanks to Caden, he was having service issues. That happens. We're going back, and we're talking to another accomplished guy. I mean, I had no idea until he came up and cracked a mic with me up at Cotton Bowl Speedway of the many talents of the great Marcus Harcrow. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good, Rodney. You?
Man, I can't complain. Thank you for the adjustment on the fly right there. This gets a little interesting from time to time, but got it all worked out.
Well, yeah, no big deal. Another one of my accomplishments, just like you, I ran a radio show, internet radio show for racers. It was called The Victory Lane at Rudy's.
Nice.
Did that for a couple of years. So I kind of know the feeling about racers showing up late or not showing up. So as a racer, it just happens.
Yeah. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you. I mean, like you're talking about there. I mean, you've got a resume. Your resume is a lot like mine, it seems like, other than the fact that you're still competing. Take us through it. How did it all get started, and progression and stoppages and all of that?
How long is the show?
well, I'm flying solo tonight, dude, and I like to, like I told you at Heart of Texas on Friday. I like to talk, and I know you like to talk. So hell, we may be here 10:30.
Yeah, I'll give you the shortest version I can. So I started racing at the age of 18 in mini stocks. Ran that for a few years. They dropped mini stocks. I think we then went to like pure stocks. Then transferred into hobby stocks, ran hobby stocks for a while, and then into stock cars. Mm-hmm. There's lots of gaps in that racing. I'm 37, going to be 38 this year. So, 20 years worth of racing, but never really full time.
Yeah.
I can't recall a year, maybe one. I did 1 year in a mini stock. I did do that 1 year where I ran all season. I made every race I could, but that's about it. Announcing I just kind of lucked into it, actually. One night at Waco, they had a group of guys they did more high school football sports broadcasting. Yep. And they were there. They were just trying to dabble in it, but they had zero clue about what was going on the track. And I just had blown my motor that night or something, and I just happened to be up there, and I was like, I think y'all need a hand here.
Yeah.
And, they're like, well, here's a mic. And, the rest is history. Before I knew it, I was running the broadcast at both Waco and at the time Texas Thunder Speedway. We did that for 2 years, and it was an experience, one I won't, regret, because in life, those experiences open up other doors.
Yeah.
And that led me to being the official track announcer at Waco for a season or two, and then I moved to the flag stand, and then I said, you know what? I want to get back in a race car. So,
oh man.
So yeah, that's about as short as I can get for you there, Rodney.
And that's kind of the way it works out. I mean, my announcing career, and I'm like you. I mean, we would race. A couple of seasons we would race full time, but I mean, it wasn't every week. And then I showed up one day for a thing at Kyle, and somebody didn't show up, and they're like, here. So anyway, the rest is history, I guess. But so let's talk about, man, iStocks and factory stocks, and I mean, you guys, what I love about both of those classes is those are cars that I can relate to. They look like stock cars. That's what I love about a lot of things I love about dirt track racing, but over asphalt is, man, that's the cars I like to watch. Those stock cars, man, God, they look like a lot of fun.
Well, they are. They are a lot of fun, and I have had my share of driving, and I've even been in modifieds. I've been in wing modifieds. I've driven everything but a late model and a sprint car.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I love stock cars. Stock cars, to me, from a driver's standpoint, is the most competitive class. You were talking about it earlier about AJ just walking off and leaving us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just to show you the competitiveness in our class. You can't. It's almost impossible to gain ground back up.
Yeah.
You have to be on your mark lap after lap. Now, granted, every driver is not perfect. They're not going to make their marks, every lap. And so you get that back and forth tussle, if you want to call it that. So, but they're so equal. They're so competitive. It is so fun. It just really is. The most fun I've had racing a race car and out of any of the classes I've ever driven.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I like to show up to the racetrack and people, oh, that's a race car? That's awesome. They look at it. They know that's a race car.
Yeah.
They see modifieds, they're like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, yes, that is my class, and Joe will always say, that's class he likes the best, and it's yes, absolutely. Let me ask you about the factory stocks. So, man, they have blown up. My goodness. The two different classes. I mean, I think I would want to be in a stock car, but I mean, if somebody told me to come drive a factory stock, I would do it too. But your thoughts on the factory stocks, man? Geez, man, what a explosion.
Yes, absolutely, which is amazing because they're part of the reason, in my opinion, the IMCA hobby stocks died in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They were starting to build and they were starting to grow, and people were like, "Oh, well, I'll just race those."
Mm.
And as anything, it started off cheaper.
Sure.
I think they're a lot like the hobby stocks. Motor rules, they're really getting even more comparative than what the hobby stocks were back then. They've got the you can run the 602 crate now at some of the tracks. And the tires, hobby stocks, we ran little bitty DOT tires. So you had absolutely no grip.
Yeah, no grip. Yep.
Well, that's what you got in the factory stock. You just got a 10-inch with no grooves.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're fun to watch because, they do, they just kind of skate around, and the speed you get out of them is very impressive for what they are and how they work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at lap times; they're just a second or two off of a stock car.
Yeah.
So I haven't driven one, factory stock, but I would imagine they're a handful.
Yeah.
But fun at the same time.
Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, because I know like a lot of the factory stock guys, what they would tell me is, oh my goodness, this tire, exactly what you're saying, great grip, and they're only $30. They're so affordable. But I've kind of noticed, I look at some of these cars, like what Caden Honeycutt was just talking about. I look at some of these cars and I'm like, well, that's probably not like a $2,000 car. They seem to be getting fancy.
Oh, yes. They have definitely not what they were when they started.
Yeah.
And that's just the product of what
we do.
They were going for. Yeah, when the show started becoming 5,000, 10,000 to win, well, you said it earlier, kind of like in the that truck series, when you start seeing veterans in this class, it's almost like a switch gets flipped and the price starts to go up because those veterans know what it takes to win.
Oh, yeah.
They know it takes a good chassis, built right. It takes good shocks, everything. And so therefore the po' boy racing team, they got to step up, or find something else because they're no longer competitive. The evolution of dirt track racing for sure. And I'm sure it's the same way in asphalt, but, it's just, $10,000, $20,000 cars now that you could get for $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I mean, and again, I could tell you're radio now because you're like going right with where I'm exactly going. So this is perfect. So, I mean, asphalt, I've been asphalt forever. And I mean, it is, I mean, the price, I mean, that has taken so many people out of it. And I mean, we don't have the recognizable stock cars like I was talking about, but, with dirt, it is. I mean, it's getting really pricey, and I mean, we're seeing when I see guys go from modified to factory stock, that's when I'm like, that's the stuff we see in asphalt that really starts derailing stuff. What is there a way to kind of reel that in, or are we at a point where it's just going to keep happening?
Well, that's tough to say. Every week on your show, most of the weeks, you talk about like the sanctioning bodies, the IMCAs, the USRA, and stuff like that. Those sanctioning bodies, for the most part, they're intended to help keep costs down. That's their underlying thing.
Right.
Let's make a uniform rule package, for all racers. And then let's regulate it so that the cost doesn't get up. IMCA back in the day had a claim rule on motors. You could go buy an IMCA modified motor for $525.
I remember that.
Yep. Now we have the swap. There's not really any swaps that are hardly made because, I'm not really going to gain anything if I go and buy that guy's motor. He's going to take my motor.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So there's no incentive to want to try to help regulate the class. So you just have to join them. I'm a prime example. My brother-in-law builds motors. We have a machine shop literally 200 yards in front of our race shop.
Wow.
But I have a Kevin Stoa, KS Engineering in my car because I want to compete. I don't want to get beat by these guys because they went out and spent bukus of money on a motor.
Right.
And, we're just trying to build it ourselves. I don't want that as an excuse. So what did I do? I went out and spent bukus of money on a motor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same with our car. We got the most we could get out of our car we've been running the last 3 years. We couldn't get that thing to go any faster.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't, it was outdated. It just didn't have the things it needed. So what did we do? We went and bought a 2020 GRT, and now I just sent my brother-in-law, Jake, a picture because we talk to the Abbeys all the time.
Yeah.
I passed Jeffrey down the backstretch in the feature. I was hooping and hollering. Woo!
Hell yeah.
That's what we just spent all that bukus of money to do.
Yeah.
Was to beat the Abbeys and to beat these other guys that we race with on a weekly basis. We don't want to just be a top 5
right
5th place car. We want to be a top 5 first place car. We just don't want to be in tech to be in tech. We want to be in tech because we won the race. And like I said, the evolution of racing, to do that, it takes money. And I don't know, this is your first season at Waco. So the parks trailer at Waco for the longest time was owned and operated by Glenn Wilson.
Got it.
And his slogan was racing is cheap, winning is expensive.
Yeah. That's great.
And that's the darn truth.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah, that is well said. So this car, when you rolled out there at Waco, I saw that and I'm like, oh man, he is getting serious. Talk about that thing, the adjustment to it. Is it like, you feel like you're in a Cadillac now where you were in a VW Beetle before, or talk about the difference, man. Cause I can tell you, man, that thing is running on a rail. That's a good looking car.
It really is night and day difference. I'll be honest, and I never shy away from it.
Yeah.
I'm just a driver.
Yeah.
When it comes to setup stuff, I know bits and pieces that I've picked up, and I listen. I try to listen and I try to retain. But JP Dow, that's my guy.
Yep.
That's my setup guy. He's been there from day one. He's the mastermind. But this car, the things we've done to it, and we're not even done yet. Like after Cotton Bowl, we're like, JP was there. We're talking. And we're like, okay, we're going to make some adjustments here. That's going to help this, and that's going to keep the speed. We're not going to scrub speed. We're going to carry more speed. So we're already, working on making it even faster because the car has the ability to do so. It has the adjustments built in it to where we can get to those points, whereas the last car didn't. We were maxed out in adjustments.
Yeah.
And it literally, you said it is like driving a Cadillac versus a Volkswagen Beetle. This car does things I've never felt in a stock car.
Yeah. Oh man, that's fantastic.
I got this, and this is a prime example. First night at Waco, my younger brother was talking to me. He's like, man, it looked like you were, kind of like driving like a sprint car. Your wheels were left, right.
Yeah.
And I said, I felt that in the car, but I didn't quite understand why. It's the same style gearbox I ran in the other car. Well, then I'm back at the trailer and we're talking to JP and everything. And he's like, oh, it's the front geometry. These things have so much more better geometry. The tires will literally go from left to right faster with the same stuff.
Jeez, man.
So what you used to had to turn the steering wheel, like 6 inches. Now you're only turning it like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And you're just it is. The saying is old, but it is truly a night and day difference.
Yeah.
From the old car to this car, and we have the expectations of being a night and day difference team.
Yeah.
We don't, like I said, we're not looking to be that 5th place car every week, and occasionally making it in a tech or pulling off that lucky win, because
Sure. Yeah.
I happened to start up front on a hammer down track and I got out far enough ahead that they couldn't catch me.
Yeah.
We want to be up front in the winner's circle, or at least contending for the winner's circle week in and week out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we believe that's this car, motor combination, everything. That's what's going to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. From what I've seen, yes, absolutely. And the competition is stiff. I mean, that's the thing. So, and I can totally. I mean, that totally makes sense because it's as I'm figuring this out, it's like to get those cars to rotate. I mean, there are certain things, and we would run into this, way back when with asphalt stock cars. There are certain things that these OEMs just are not capable of doing. I mean, when you take a unibody Camaro, Nova, whatever the hell, and you take it out there and you expect it to do this, it's not capable of doing it, and it's not going to do it.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's where these cars, like what you have now, I mean, it's like you said, it's capable of doing it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I get giddy. I'm like a kid.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
And I like to daydream. And Jake, my brother-in-law, gives me a hard time because when I'll daydream and I'm not really paying attention to anybody, my hands will start to like a little shimmy shake because I'm literally in the moment of whatever it is I'm daydreaming about.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at the race car and I'm just imagining myself, going around the racetracks, wheeling and slinging it, and just, I get, like I said, I'm like a kid. I get giddy.
No, that's awesome.
And so, I'm hoping that the season is that way all year.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking it is because you're off to a hell of a start. So let's talk about Waco. I mean that man, I got to tell you, I am having a blast at that place. I love it. I mean I hadn't been there in I can't tell you how long. I'll truly show my age, but man, what is it about that place, dude? I go rolling up in there, and it's like. It feels like an old school racetrack, but there's so many updates to where it feels like it's it's top notch, just everything. The show runs. I mean, the people. I was talking earlier when I was talking about Shannon Duloc. I'm like, so this guy truly is the guy that wears the black hat because they're like booing him out of the place when he wins. What is it about Heart of Texas, man? I got to tell you, dude. I wake up on Friday mornings and I'm like, man, is it 8:00 yet? Let's get this thing going.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. So Waco does. Their fan base. They are diehards.
Yeah.
They truly are. And obviously that's my home track. That's where I grew up at. One of my first jobs was mowing the grass there. So, but yes, they truly are diehards. And I don't know if I should say this or not, but probably when Shannon Duloc wins, the booing comes from my family.
Oh, nice.
And I'm not even lying. I raced against Shannon back in the hobby stock days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but, there's groups that just don't like other people.
Yeah, for sure.
Other groups that have, because like the Dulocs or the Kirkpatricks, the Greens, these are families, that have a long history at the racetrack, and, we're generation after generation now, some of us into our third generations, that family is enriched into that track. And so when things happen, of course, it doesn't matter how many generations later,
sure.
There's animosity. There's not
Never
a
goes
hatred,
away.
but there's just a thing about it that doesn't change. I've had so many stories from my dad from back in the day chasing guys around their car in the infield, it's endless. And that's just Waco. That's one of the things I like about it, love about it, and hate about it.
Sure.
Is just the rich tradition and roots that it has.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it has, I think it's its 55th year.
Yeah.
That's just, that in itself really stands out and says, why it is the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, I mean, what I see with it, and there's that at every track. I mean, you have that, but a lot of people, when we have it at other tracks, they're vocal, they're like this. They talk about it like But at Waco, they don't.
Yeah,
and that's,
you're right.
And that's what I've noticed, and just in these first couple of weeks, they like tell me. They're like, okay, be ready for watch so and so, and man, I just think that's fantastic. That's what this shit is all about.
You're right. It is, and it's sometimes comical, and then sometimes it's embarrassing, especially when it's your family. It's like, oh my God, you're in the pit lineup with your car on, and you can hear your family booing the person before you. But yes, it is, and it is the rich history of it, and we'll get to something else I want to talk about while we've got you,
Absolutely.
But it is the rich tradition and everything that Waco has that, yes, the families, everything. We've got new owners, David, Jerry, and John. They're awesome. We couldn't, honestly, I don't think we could ask for anybody better to have replaced Gene. Gene had been there for years and years. I've seen Gene and his brother Bill. I've seen Walter Stillball. I've seen people, help grow and mold that track to what it is. And I truly feel like you said when you first said it, it has that old Bill feeling, but a new age.
Yep, Marcus, I'm losing you a little bit, man. Little muffle there. I don't know if it's you or me.
Right there.
Yeah, I got you. Let's. I'm gonna disconnect this. Hit me right back, and let's try our connection again. But yeah, like we're talking about there at Waco, they are not shy. They are not shy, and that's I like that. I think a lot of folks maybe it would scare a casual race fan if they walked up and heard all of that. But it's one of those things where it's what it's all about. And we got him back. Let's try it again, Marcus. You got you?
Yes, sir.
All right, there we go. But yeah, what you were saying there, track ownership. And that's something else that. So the first night we had some PA stuff we were working on, and we roll up, early this past week, and Jerry had gone out and spent a lot of money to get it resolved, and to me that tells me just how much of a priority it is for them to produce a top-notch show.
No, you're right, and I was so glad as a former announcer to see them make those adjustments and those changes to the PA system, because it would, as the announcer, you're like the first line of defense.
Yeah.
When someone has something to say, whether it's good or bad, they come to you. And generally it's only the bad.
It's bad.
Yeah. So when we can't hear you over here in turn 4, but turn 1 is like putting earmuffs on because it's so loud.
Right.
So I was really happy to see them making those improvements, and it just, like I said, it goes with everything that they've been doing since they took over. We've got bleachers now that will last for decades.
Yeah. I was impressed with that. Yeah.
Yeah. No more wooden, 2x12s, that they have to go and check for rottenness,
right.
Rotting and having to replace every year. We've got state-of-the-art bleachers. Up to date aluminum, high, bleachers. We've got the catwalk. That is the coolest thing around. When I went to Boone for the first time, I was like, what? I can stand up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we've got it at our own local track.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, to me, it's been one thing after another. It's not all at once. And I think that's a good thing, because in life, you get everything at once. Then it's like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
So we get little bits every year, a little bit here, a little bit there, I just think it's, like I said, I don't think we could ask for any better owners than what we have, to take the racetrack into its next, 55 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so state of the art. Even the individual seats, just everything. And I think it's so impressive. And so much of this is the show that you guys put on now, and the shows that have been put on for the other 54 years leading up to this, is those races start at 8 o'clock. I rolled up in there the other day. It was just before 5, and there's people waiting to get in that place. And it's hours away because they want the top row seats. I mean, whatever it is. And that, dude, that shit's unheard of. And it's every week there at Waco.
Correct. Yep.
Man.
You're right. And I mean, like I said, Waco is home for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I live in Killeen now, you know, but Waco, the track itself is home for me.
Yeah.
And it will always be that way. You know, living here in Killeen, I can tell you that I wish Texas Thunder Speedway was still here.
Sure.
You know, because when I lived in Waco, it's nice to say, oh, I've got a racetrack 20 minutes down the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got Cotton Bowl, you know, that's, you know, an hour and 45 minutes southeast. You know, we've got on Saturdays, we got Kennedale I can go to that's 2 hours north, you know, but Waco is still home, and it will always be home as long as Waco is still there. And I truly feel that that's what Jerry and John and everybody involved, that's their plan. That's their intentions. They have, you know, I think there was rumors floating around the last couple of years about, oh, a truck stop's going to buy it, and, you know, and build a, you know, massive truck stop, you know. Well, that didn't happen. You know why? Well, because Jerry didn't get in it for the money. I mean, obviously we all know racing is not a very money making business on either the promoter side, owner side, or the racer side.
No,
you know, we do it for our passion. So, I mean, I feel like, you know, that's what they're there. They're wanting to make that the best and greatest racetrack in Texas, if not the country, you know, for a Friday night short track.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know,
and the fact that that it happens on Fridays, and seriously, that is one, because I've talked about it on here so many times where it's like, yeah, I'm going to TMS, and they're like, oh, is that one just past Waco? I mean, it's the Heart of Texas Speedway is a destination place. I mean, it has been, and I'm finding out why, man. It is just so buttoned up.
Yes, you're correct on that.
Yeah.
You know, and because of its location.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
You tell people, you know, you see them at somewhere with your race car, and they're like, oh, where are y'all racing? Oh, we're just up just about 10 minutes up the road. Oh, the one right there off the highway? Yeah.
That's it.
You know,
that's it.
The first night after Waco, you know, the racers always go to Whataburger. Well, right now we couldn't get into Whataburger, so we're standing outside by the drive-through line, you know, and just a random guy in a car starts asking me questions about racing, and he's like, and I'm, you know, so what do? I just do what I would figure any racer would. Yeah, man, we'll be back there next Friday night at 8 o'clock.
That's right.
You know, you should come out. It's fun, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it does have the location on it is really great. You know, it's just outside the city limits, not too far, so you don't have the city bureaucratic stuff you got to mess with. You know, it's right on I-35, the busiest highway in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that.
Yeah.
And you know, like I just said, you've got owners who are wanting it to be better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very obvious. And actually, I thought it was odd when I was kind of doing some research there when I was first getting the gig to go. I was kind of looking at some stuff, and I saw something on like the Waco Chamber of Commerce thing, and hell, it's on there. It's Heart of Texas. I'm like, well, that's the support you need right there. But I guess when you've been doing this for so long, that's what you get. I do want to come back to Heart of Texas because, like you said, I know there's something we want to talk about. But your thoughts there with Cotton Bowl? That is a slick, slick sometimes, fast, wide racetrack, man. And I got to tell you that the racing the other night was pretty damn good.
So I love Cotton Bowl's racetrack. Out of all the racetracks I've raced at, to me, it is the most raciest. Whether it goes dry or if it's hammered down, it's not as racy. You know, last Saturday for us, we were obviously the second class out there.
Right.
So it was pretty fast in one groove. It was pretty wet, below or above it.
Yep.
So it was racing in the aspect of you were waiting for someone to kind of, either get, froggy and try to pass somebody and
Right.
jump,
Yep.
and you would take their spot, or they would mess up and you would, get underneath them,
Right.
and so that's fun, I don't know if AJ had any fun. He's just out there,
He's just cruising.
driving Miss Daisy. Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer. Yeah.
But the guys that had to start in the back, I think I started ninth, so it was fun. You're on your toes the whole time. But typically, I would say it's for the most part fairly rare that Cotton Bowl is like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's only been like that less than a handful of times that I can recall. Typically it's more of a dry track.
Right.
And believe it or not, I told Jason this, Jason Bapp, and I told somebody else, before this car, I would have always wanted a hammered down track.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've got the equipment to be able to compete on a dry track. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, can we have a dry track, please? Can we have a dry track, please? Switched advocacies. But Cotton Bowl, I like Cotton Bowl. I really do. The facilities are really nice. I could say it about any racetrack. I'm sure there's things that I would like to change, even for Waco.
Sure.
But overall, I like Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
I think Marianne and H are truly doing the best that they can. I think coming from an asphalt or concrete, that type of racing, Marianne said it before, this is a totally different animal.
Yep.
The time that H spends working on the track to what it takes to run the show, everything is different about it. And I think that they, the few times I've gone to them and said, hey, y'all need to try to do this.
Yeah.
You did this tonight about this, and it didn't work. Let's try to, let's do it this way. And I think they really do listen to racers or to people. They've got they've got Ann in there this year full time.
Yep.
I think that's probably
huge.
the best decision they could make when it comes to scoring and officiating a race. I've worked with Ann inside a tower as judges. I've been next to her as an announcer. I think that's probably the best decision they could have done in that aspect. She knows the rules. She knows the steps.
Yes.
She knows all the ins and outs on how to do what is right. Because at the end of the day, that's what a racer wants.
Yeah.
We are not always going to get the racetrack surface we want. You're not always going to get the draw that you want. But at the end of the night, we want to know that there wasn't a decision made in the tower,
right,
that messed me over.
Yeah.
Or a lineup procedure. Caution comes out and you're running right behind this guy, and all of a sudden when they give you the lineups, you're like 3 cars back.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, hey.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very wise decision on their part. But overall, I like Cotton Bowl. I like really all the tracks I can race at, but obviously Cotton Bowl is right there on the top of the list. We haven't been anywhere on Saturdays, and we've had the opportunity to go elsewhere beforehand, and we didn't. We wanted to be at Cotton Bowl for opening night. We want to support Cotton Bowl. like I said, I'm sure there's things I could tell you that I would want to change, but
Sure.
that's not who I am. That's not why I'm here. I'm
Right.
not here to talk about what track should do or not to do. But I like Cotton Bowl, and I intend to be there at all. I think there's 16 or 17 shows this year. I intend to be at every single one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So.
That's awesome. And you're exactly right. I mean, with Ann, that is, man, I'm amazed watching her. I mean, I'm in there screaming. I was outside this week, and I came back up and I said, were you glad that I wasn't in here? She's like, you don't bother me. She's like, you don't bother me at all. She's like, I don't even pay attention. So no, that is a great get right there. So let's talk about moving forward. I know you and I were talking on Friday. We've got something coming up, and hopefully we'll take this. We've got it live here on multiple streams. It's going to be podcast everywhere, and I'll clip your section out. And let's something we want to make something we really want to talk about tonight, because we got something big coming up.
Correct. So this year, July 3rd. We're going to have the second annual Baby Blue Harco Memorial Shootout. It does feature the IMCA stock cars for several reasons. One, we already talked about.
That's right.
I think they're the best show out there. I also happen to drive one. So,
Yep.
But Baby Blue Harco, as she's known, that was my mom.
Right.
My mom used to be a racer. She drove mini stocks. She's driven, street stocks and bombers and stuff like that. But then since her, retirement, if you want to call it that, from racing, she sang the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
She was blessed with a voice, a very good one, and that's what she would do. And just about every week at Waco, if she was there, that was like her highlight for the week.
Sure.
Was getting up there and singing the national anthem. She sang them, at special events there at Waco. She's been at other tracks and been asked to sing the national anthem. They're like, oh, Miss Harcrow's here, Baby Blue's here. They would have her come up and sing the national anthem.
Right.
So, my mom was for the most part, a staple.
Sure.
At Waco. And unfortunately we lost her last year to a car accident. Some friends and racers came to me last year and said, hey, we need to try to put on a memorial race. Now it was something that me and my wife, Stephanie, had kind of discussed. I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what to do.
Right.
And they're like, hey, let's put on, a memorial race. And I think that was like in May.
Mm-hmm.
The accident happened in April, so it was somewhere around in May that this came up. So we had 2 months basically, to get all the pieces together. First I had to get okay from the racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
We want to do this. I want to do this. At that point it was kind of a decision made that this is going to be an annual event.
Right.
It's not a one-off. This isn't a thanks, Mom. We love you. But and this is our thing.
And that's
this
it.
is this is something I want to carry on. And I've had the conversation that my dad's 81, 82, something like that, without doing the math off the top of my head.
Right.
So I know at some point, life, God will take him, and in the memorial race, the name will probably change a little bit to just like the Harcrow Memorial or something like that.
Sure.
But my mom, obviously being my mom, holds a very dear spot in my heart, and so I wanted to do this and make it as big as I can make it. Yep. So I basically I busted tail in those 2 months last year. Talking to people, individuals, racers, companies, raising the money. The track, said, hey, we'll let you hold it here. No problem. So I'm out trying to get funds raised because I want this to be the biggest and baddest race around.
Right.
And I feel that it was that in such a short period of time. We were able to make a payout that not only did it pay $1,500 to win and $100 to start, second place paid $900.
Wow. Damn.
I'm pulling up my spreadsheet right now as I'm talking about this. So 900 it was 800 for second, because originally it was going to be 1,000 and we kept getting more money. So my goal was 1,000 to win and 100 to start. And then I just kept getting more, so it became 1,500, but it was 1,500 to win, 800, 700, 600, 500, 400, and we had businesses step up and say, hey, we want to put money just in that spot.
Right.
Seventh place last year paid $550. That was more than fifth.
Jeez. It's crazy.
And your man, Jason Batt, he says he wasn't doing it, but I watched him from the infield make sure he passed a guy for seventh on the last lap. He was counting cars. I know he was. In the pay, it was really good all the way down.
Yeah.
It was $125 from 10th to 20th. I mean, another sponsor had put in 15th place, which that was my mom's car number, was 15.
Okay.
It paid $475.
Jeez.
For 15th place.
Man.
So, and we had 35 stock cars. 35 stock cars last year. And we competed against other tracks. There was a couple of other tracks. I think Southern Oklahoma ran that night.
Mm-hmm.
Kennedale was running the next night. So there was people who may not have wanted to travel last year because they didn't want to go get their car wrecked, or something happened and not be able to make it to their home track on Saturday, which I get. It's midway through the season if you're chasing points, but this year is different. This year it has literally worked out in our favor.
Yeah.
It's going to be July 3rd. Well, that's the same date as last year's race, but it's on a Saturday this year.
Perfect.
Because of the July 4th weekend, I don't know why. I'm not going to complain, not one bit. I almost kind of jumped up for joy when I was told this. Kennedale's not racing that weekend.
Oh man.
Southern Oklahoma's not racing. Abilene's not racing. Cotton Bowl's not racing. So all these tracks that we have that stock cars run at, and other cars really, because Friday night it's 1,000 winning mods.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you can come to Waco that weekend and run two separate shows, have a good time, and know that on Saturday in a stock car, when you race, you're not just racing for money. I mean, although this is as a racer, I want it to be a racer show. It's a money race. Yeah.
Yep.
But you came for a different reason. Because we're there celebrating the life of Baby Blue.
Right.
And this is our way of celebrating because that's what we loved. That's what she loved.
Yeah.
Racing was in her as much as any other racer. She wasn't born in it. She married my dad, who was a racer. My mom didn't come from, she's a city girl, dresses and, the fancy Stancy.
I'm married to one. I am married to one of those.
So she grew that love for it. It wasn't in her blood. But she quickly put an IV in her, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that race, is twofold, like I said.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about the racers because that's what we want it to be, but it's also about Baby Blue. Yeah. We're recognizing her life, her accomplishments, and her gift to the racing community, through her voice.
Sure. Absolutely.
But to make it happen, and this is like any other thing,
right.
It takes money. The racetrack has a certain amount of dollars that they put towards the race, and everything else we have to raise. We do have some sponsors that were on board last year that are already said, hey, we want to be on board. We've got Race on Texas. Race on Texas is awesome. I've worked with Chris and everybody there from basically as far as I can remember, day one
Yeah.
of them coming to our area. They're on board. They're not only is this going to be I'm hoping a massive production, multiple cameras, kind of like Saturday was,
right.
But they're financially saying, hey, here's some money for the purse.
Yeah.
We've got CRS suspension, GW Egbert and Jeffrey Abbey over at CRS, they were a part of it last year. They said, hey, we want to be in. We want to be in again this year. Speed Secrets again with GW and Jeffrey, both their companies, hey, this company's going to do this much. This company's going to do this much. We're in.
Right.
We want to be a part of it, but it takes obviously more than just a couple, people.
Yeah.
And if anybody out there is listening, I can promise you, you won't be disappointed by being a sponsor of this event. We would welcome any and everybody. We have flyers already made, ready to go out. Thanks to Southern Sass and Stacy. We have those ready. All we would like to do is if we could find a title sponsor, your flyer, your name is on every flyer, logo, the track's website, everything that we have. That's it. It's on there. Even if you're not a title sponsor,
right? Every
one of those presenting sponsors, every one of those is on our marketing documentation. Yeah. All our flyers, everything. We have a Facebook page that we just started at the beginning of this year, just for this race.
Wow.
And everything that we do goes through that, Facebook page. You've got the Heart of Texas Facebook page. We're multiple platforms that we're pushing here. So we would, obviously we would take and work with anyone, no matter what the size of contributing that they would like to do. And with that said, I have some very, very exciting news.
Nice.
We worked with the Lone Star Stock Car Tour. Unfortunately, that didn't get to happen.
Yeah.
The event, it didn't get to happen.
Yeah, that's
but we had offered up the 25th starting spot. Last year, we just kind of did a draw. It was all real quick and short notice. We didn't really have an action plan, but the plan was start 25 cars for 25 laps. Well, this year, we had an action plan. So I went to them and I said, hey, Texas guys, Oklahoma guys, the kind of surrounding states around us, the guys that pre-register and at the time have perfect attendance during the tour, we'll draw a name out of it. That person's guaranteed a starting spot in our memorial race.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately it didn't happen, but we went ahead and drew anyway.
Nice.
And Leslie Gill, out of Odessa.
Yeah.
He's a lucky guy. He's already on the in the race.
Wow.
He hasn't even been to Waco. He's already in the race.
That's awesome. That is kick ass.
And when so when I was talking to Jill and John at Sniper Speed, the Lone Star Stock Car Tour, telling them about this event, kind of like I'm telling you, about my mom and everything.
Right.
They said, well, we want to return the favor. And this is where it gets awesome. Sniper Speed is going to give $1,000 off a brand new chassis to the winner of the race.
Oh my goodness! Hold on, I gotta hit my little thing here. Little breaking news right there. That my goodness, and we talked to them, and that's good people too, right there. My heart broke when we couldn't do that series. Man, that is fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic.
It's already, you getting a almost 6-foot trophy.
Yeah.
I think it's 5.5 feet tall, $1,500 cash, and now you're getting $1,000 off a brand new stock car chassis.
Yeah. So you're $2,500 there, because you know where the 15's going.
And in reality, there's your chassis.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's your jig built, possibly even powder coated chassis. And then you start buying all the bits and pieces from there, and you've got a brand new chassis because you showed up to a race, a special event race, our special event race, and you won.
There's your Cadillac, right there. Yep.
So, I really can't thank John and Jill for that. They, like I said, I went to them just trying to, get the memorial race information out there. We were going to have flyers during the tour, passing them out,
right.
Trying to get anybody and every stock car driver aware of it, but for them to step up and say, hey,
Man.
We want to do this.
That is awesome.
That is awesome.
Dude.
And it really kind of like, it was surreal. You know what I mean? It's like,
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that, man, that's good. Dude, the timing of this is going to be huge. And we're 15 March right now. This is gonna be big, dude. bigger.
Yes, bigger.
This is going to be really good, dude. I can't wait for this. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go now. Shit, let's go. Man, this I'm excited, dude. I'm excited. That is fantastic. And and the first two races at Wake, and this just speaks volumes, what we're talking about here, there with your mom. The first two races at Waco this year, we've already honored, they've been memorial races. And again, circling back to what we were talking about with Heart of Texas, this is the reason this place is so good and why it's been around for so long. Stuff like this.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
You're right.
Yep. Absolutely. Good stuff. Man, that's awesome. That is awesome. Dude, I'm glad we did this.
Me too.
I need more beer and and we could go on for a while. So now I know who to call. Like when Bobby's gone, now I know who I need to get a hold of. I didn't know you did this. I'm not surprised, but I didn't know you did this also.
Yeah, no, that was a very fun stint of my life. It was pretty cool. Like I said, we held a radio show podcast. Wasn't really podcast back then, but at a Rudy's, we did it live at a Rudy's.
That's even better.
Which was cool because Rudy's would give us free food. Because we would bring our racers to us. I would go Friday night and or Saturday night, and I would be like, hey, we want you to be on our show. Wednesday. And so they would drive to Waco, at the Rudy's and bring their friends and family, and we just have a good old time sitting around a big old table with our headsets on and just talking racing.
We might have to do that again.
Hey, let's do it.
How about a
you're
rebirth?
In Round Rock, right?
Yeah,
right? Is that where you're?
Yeah, it's not that far. I mean,
yeah,
seriously, dude, I could whiz up to that track in no time at all if we didn't have that little right there in front of the stadium situation going on. But it is what it is.
Let's not get me started on that.
Yeah. The first week I'm like, I'll just drive right on up. Well, you live and learn. I'd forgotten, but hell, maybe we ought to do that again. That'd be good stuff.
Yep.
Yep. Absolutely.
No, it is fun. But before you let me go, because I don't know what I think you're usually done by now, but do want to say some thanks and some
for sure.
One, I got to thank my wife Stephanie. She puts up with me, and she really does. She can't hear me. She's in the kitchen. I'm on the other side of the house, but she really does drive me to be better in a lot of aspects, especially in our racing. Saturday night, she's like, after the heat race, she's like, well, is something wrong with the car? Because she's at home watching. And I'm like, no, it just was just not a very good track. It was real wet. She's like, you got passed by Jeffrey and George. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I redeemed myself in the feature and passed Jeffrey back. But
you did.
But really, she does. She drives me to be better as a person and as a racer. I think in life, we look back. Obviously, it's easier to say, but there's always room for improvement.
Sure.
And she definitely makes sure that I know that I can be better.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to thank her for that. our racing program wouldn't be what it is without her, because I'm horrible with money.
Oh, dude.
I can go make it, but I can't keep it.
Dude. Yes.
But
Yes.
we've got sponsors on our race car. 29 Enterprises. That's our company. That's our bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do every day, is hop in a truck and haul the earth. Literally haul the earth. Yep. Midtex Towing and Recovery here in Killeen, Texas. Couldn't do it without them. Jash Road Service, truck and trailer repair. They're the ones that keep our truck on the road. Yeah.
Good partner.
He's been great. Yeah, a great partner. Exactly.
Yeah.
GRT and Dow Motorsports, JP Dow. Again, he's what makes our car fast.
Mm-hmm.
Without him, I'm it literally is the whole package. If you were to divide everything, you got a motor, you got a car, you got shocks and tires, and you got a driver.
Right.
I'm only a quarter of it.
Yep.
And I can only pick up so much more if one of the other areas is lacking. So
that's right.
Really got to thank JP for his help and everything. And then we have a new sponsor this year, ACM Services, electrical contractor, the Morris family. We've built a great friendship and relationship with them. Really can't thank them enough for coming on board and helping us, and not just with the race car, but like I said, the friendship, because that's really what racing really is. We're just friends and family. And so
it's a weekly family reunion. I mean, it really is, and that's and you don't realize it until we get in the off season. And it's like you haven't seen these people for so. I mean, it's easier now. I mean, because we can do this and all this other stuff. But I mean, there's really nothing like being at the racetrack. I mean, there's quote bad nights at the racetrack, but there's not really ever a bad night at the racetrack.
Yeah, you're right. And one other, got to thank Hardy Henderson Racing, my father-in-law.
Oh yeah, hard time.
Our car's in his shop.
Nice.
And then Jake Henderson, had to wash the car today, and I didn't have a whole lot of time. I had this nice, cool radio show I needed to get on. And,
you had another one? You had another show to be on?
So he helped out.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it just like everything, whether it's the race car or the memorial race, it takes everybody.
It does.
It takes it literally takes every person. Last year we had several people, for that memorial race. Here's $50.
Sure. Sure.
Hey, man, here's a hug. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same for the racing. A lot of these, that help us, don't do a whole lot. It's, like everything in life, it's pretty much on you to do what you're wanting to do, but it does help. Every little bit helps, and I couldn't do it without them, for sure.
Yeah. No doubt.
And we couldn't do it. We say this every week, but this is true. Without those fans in the stands, and we don't have a racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great to be on the track, and it's great to compete. I mean, but to see those people there, I mean, it really. I mean, that's like last year when NASCAR was racing with nobody there. I mean, it's like, even those guys. It's like it's weird doing this, and there's nobody here to see it. And I mean, these people. These fans. They're so. They love it. We were talking about the fans here in Waco, but the other night at Cotton Bowl, those people were on fire. You guys were just racing your asses off, and that's what it's all about, providing just great entertainment, escape. It's really escape for 3-4 hours, whatever it is. These folks get to go be entertained.
Yep, you're right, and I think because of the pandemic, if that's what you want to call it. Actually, I think may have helped racing.
Yep.
Because there weren't any other, avenues of entertainment, and if we just plant that seed in one fan, they bring somebody else, and then we plant that seed into that person, and we just, that's how this sport has grown. That's how it's going to continue to grow, and believe it or not, I truly feel, like I said, I think it helped the racing.
It did.
World.
Don't know what you have till it's gone. Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, absolutely. And it's so funny that you say that, Marcus, because, and you'll understand this because from the announcer side. So I was at Edna a couple weeks ago, and there was a young kid. There was a wreck on the track, and I walked down, and I was doing, what I do, and this kid started talking to me, and I asked him his name on the mic and all this other stuff, and his parents said, "We've never been here before," and at the end of the night, they came over and they said, "We'll be back on the 27th." So I mean, it's stuff like that. And it's truly a blessing to get to do this, no matter what, whatever facet you are a part of this sport.
Yes, sir.
Yep, it really is, dude. This has been fun, and this has been this flew quick, man. Really good
I
stuff.
know. I was just looking. I was like, "Oh wow, man! I've been on here an hour."
Yeah, it's all good. That's what happens when you start talking racing with racing people. But
yes, sir.
We will push the memorial, and like I said, I'll get this snippets cut out, and we'll shoot this to the masses and podcast it everywhere. And I'll work hand in hand with you, I got to. I don't know if I'm there that week. I truly hope I am, because that's going to be awesome, dude. That's I just love that story. That's our sport right there.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And thank you. I really do. And I hope you're there too.
Yeah.
And so
we'll blow it out of the water, man. We will.
Sure.
And even if I'm not, though, we'll do some good stuff. But hey, I'll see you Friday. We're back at it again. Back at it again.
Yes. Sounds good. Thanks again, Rodney. I do appreciate it.
All right, Marcus. Talk to you soon, man.
Yes, sir.
You bet. Take care.
Bye.
Marcus Harcrow, and that. Like I said, he came to me. He came to me on Friday at Waco, and he said, "I bet people ask you for weird things or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, what?" I figured he had. I thought maybe he had a sponsor announcement or whatever, because I get that so many times where folks come to me and they want to tell me, "Hey, give Terry's Body Shop a shout out," or, Alamo Hot Rod Pots, or whatever it is, or hey, it's my anniversary or whatever. And they tell me things, and I'll jot it down if it's something, that I really need to hit. And he said, I need to be on the show. He said, because I wanted to, and it's ironic because I told him this, that I actually the week before was going to contact Marcus to be a guest on the show, because like I said, and again, I'm newer to this. So I saw Marcus racing last year, and for some reason or another, he wound up in the press box at Cotton Bowl with us one night, and Joe had to do something. Joe walked off, and Marcus grabbed the mic, and Marcus started talking. I'm like, holy crap. This dude is just like rattling off all this, and then he kind of told me a little bit of his announcer history, which I didn't know at the time. So truly phenomenal. So I was actually going to call him anyway. So it worked out, but that's going to be, I mean, and that truly is, guys. That's our sport, and that's what we do, and that's why we love it, because we a lot of folks, when we talk about this, we had this discussion the other day where we talk about racing, the progressiveness or lack thereof it with racing from time to time. Had racing progressed, would we have, you fill in the blank? Because we were talking, I guess it was last week, about had racing progressed, would we, I guess, have pavement tracks or whatever it was from Lone Star Speed Zone. But that's one area where I'm truly glad that racing is still in our roots, to where we do things like that, where we're going to honor people. Yeah, no, it's not AJ Foyt. No, we're not honoring Mario Andretti. No, we're not honoring anybody like that. We're honoring people that truly had impacts on the sport with us right here at home. And there, what Marcus is talking about with Baby Blue. I mean, just to, how many folks are there? Like I said about my wife, and again, my wife, not born into this, and she doesn't embrace this, but I mean, she puts up with me doing these shows and going to all these tracks, driving all over across the state of Texas to do this week after week, to be a part of our racing family. And that's super special, and I can't wait for that one. And we're going to, like I said, we'll podcast this up at RevvedUpSportsShow.com, get it out on SoundCloud and iTunes and iHeartRadio and everywhere else that we get this podcast to really make that a big deal, and hope to see a lot of you in Waco. That's Independence Day weekend, July 3rd. July 3rd on a Saturday. Go enjoy it in Waco. Back-to-back nights. Good stuff. Thanks to Caden Honeycutt. Sky is the limit for that young dude right there. And remember, one of the first times you heard him anywhere was right here on the Revved Up Sports Show. Not this time. He's been on here a couple times before. But with him on the Cars Tour, dude's going to make an impact. We already had Jared Fryer that's won a couple of championships there. How about we get another guy, one of our guys, that would win a championship? That'd be all right. Follow Caden Honeycutt. Caden Honeycutt Racing on Facebook. Heart of Texas Speedway, Marcus Harcrow. He'll be back behind the wheel on Friday. More iStock action. That's good stuff. Thank you all for tuning in. Friends, be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. I'm Rodney. I'm in Texas. We're nationwide. This is the Revved Up Sports Show. We'll see you next Monday.